Welcome back to Politics HQ and New Central Television. In what looks like a continuation of the Nigerian government's lukewarm posture to court orders, suspended CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele and suspended EFCC Chairman Bawa are still in custody. Bawa has been held in custody of the EFCC since June the 14th, and it's been in custody, of the DSS since June the 14th, and it's been probed for alleged financial mismanagement. Critics have trailed the decision of the government to disobey court orders, and with the recent appointment of a new Attorney General and a said commitment to enabling a new direction to court orders, expectations of the Nigerian government are huge and measured. To delve deeper into this tonight on Politics HQ, we have Deji Adejare, Executive Director, Sterling Law Center, joins us from the nation's capital, Abuja. We also have Barrister Kingsley Chime, a legal practitioner who joins us from Lagos, Nigeria. Warm welcome to you, gentlemen, and thanks for joining me tonight on Politics HQ.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Gbenga, for having me.
Now, I'd like to start with Barrister Chime. Could you provide an overview of the legal framework and regulations that govern the detention of individuals in Nigeria, particularly in the context of Bawa and Godwin Emefiele's cases? Does the law differ on the type of appointment you've had and your sort of standing in society? Could you explain to our viewers?
All right. Thank you so much, Gbenga, for having me, and good evening, viewers. First and foremost, I would say that the legal framework undergirding the either detention of Emefiele or Bawa, and indeed every citizen, is as provided under the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that guarantees personal liberty and dignity of Nigerian citizens. So irrespective of your position in society, all of us are subject to the Constitution. We also have Administration of Criminal Justice Act, as is applicable to the federal level, and the Administration of Criminal Justice Law within some states. We also have Criminal Code, criminal law of several states, as the case may be. But Gbenga, much as we have all these laws in place, the question has always been the implementation and the applicability of these laws. It seems that in Nigerian context, that some persons are far above this law, which the Constitution, as the grand norm, made it explicitly clear that everybody is subject to the laws of the land. While one may be, skeptical about what is happening to Bawa and the Emefiele, because it seems like these people, I know the chicken has come home to roost. I recall, yes, just a few months ago, Emefiele was all over, flouting the orders of the court at the material time with respect to some monetary policies he put in place at the material time. The same thing also applies to Bawa during his own tenure as the FCC chairman. There were reports of court orders he has flouted. At some point, he was even convicted for flouting the orders of the court. These are dynamics, but specifically stating what is happening to Emefiele and Bawa is actually a power play that is going on. I want every discerning Nigerian to be interested in these two individuals. While they reigned, they occupied one of the two most powerful institutions in Nigeria at the material time. And one would expect that what they did at the time was what their master, as he then was, President Buhari, may have directed them to do. So what essentially is playing out in Nigeria today is a power play game. And you would understand that clearly when you observe these two individuals. While Emefiele has been in and out of court with the attendant drama that accompanies it, you will see Bawa appears not to be interested in pursuing his rights as provided under the law. So it appears these two individuals are playing from two different perspectives as they understand it. But beyond the power play that is going on in Nigeria with respect to these individuals, I think the judiciary has been on the receiving end. It is unfortunate that all these things are playing out in a country that seems to be operating a constitutional democracy where there is rule of law, where there's rights and citizens are protected from violations. Whatever be the case, whatever power play that the government of the day is playing with these two individuals, they should understand that the Constitution is above every other individual. You may be in charge today, but will not be in charge forever. So while we are at it, we must understand and respect the Constitution of Nigeria with respect to the continual detention of these two individuals, irrespective of what we perceive them to have done during their own time. But the law is clear as to the time frame within which somebody can be kept in custody without trial. Bawa has been there for almost 70 days. The same thing with Emefiele, even when court has given orders at one or two occasions. These orders have been flouted. And again, that also has to do with, like I said, ab initio, the applicability of these laws. While the law has provided mechanism for seeking redress, you also understand that this law is also an ask where where Emefiele was arrested, and shortly after his arraignment, they withdrew the charge and came up with another charge. So this is some of the shortfalls in our application
of the legal system. Thank you, Kingsley. I'd like to bring in Barrister Deji Adejare to the conversation. Now, former human rights lawyer, Mr. Emefiele, argues that the detention of Bawa for 67 plus days without trial contravenes Section 493 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act and Section 35 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. How do these legal provisions specifically address the permissible duration of detention without trial? What is the law's side on this? What does the law say?
Thank you. First, it's important for us to understand the Constitution specifically provides that no person shall be detained for more than 24 hours or 48 hours in the case, in some cases, 48 hours for more than this period. And it is essentially a breakout of the guarantees of the freedom of the guarantees of the right to fair trial and presumption of innocence. The Administration of Criminal Justice Act, on the other hand, has provisions which permit, with the order of a court, for detention to be done on the order of the court, please remember, and cumulatively the entire period where a person can be detained even beyond the constitutionally provided period is about 57 days cumulatively. Now, considering the fact that both of these individuals, particularly Mr. Bawa, have been in detention for more than both the constitutionally prescribed period and the duration to provided for in the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, then of course, clearly, there has been a breach of both the Administration of Criminal Justice Act and the constitutional provisions. And what is important for us to understand is that these provisions were not there just merely for embellishment or anything at all, but it is like I said, an offshoot of the entire gamut of the guarantees that are provided, the constitutional guarantees that are provided, and the principles of justice and the presumption of innocence, which the
so Deji, why does it seem, I mean, this is not the first time court orders have been flouted. We're in a democratic dispensation, and it's almost become a second culture. So why are there no consequences for the wanton disregard of court orders, which has almost become a culture where governments decide, okay, should we obey this one? Should we decide not to obey this one? The law and the constitution should be supreme.
Thank you. You know, my colleague Mr. Chidi had stated earlier that both Mr. Bawa and Mr. Emefiele, sadly, are known for wanton, while they were in office, they were known for wanton disregard for court orders. So much so that, in fact, Mr. Bawa was at a point cited for contempt and, in fact, convicted. Now, when these things happened, the government in place at that time, of course, the government of the Federation did not do anything, in fact, to ensure that those who were responsible for the breach or the violation of the orders of the court were brought to book. Now, impunity. Impunity reigns because people are not made to account for their actions. And when we talk about impunity, sometimes people think, oh, there's a fight against corruption, that in fact you can disregard the rule of law, you can disregard the principles of justice that have been established. But the reason it is important that these principles are adhered to is because anybody can be a victim. And thankfully, we have this example, at least, to cite to those who are still in power today. And it is the reason one needs to call on the newly appointed Attorney General of the Federation to look seriously into this issue. There must be consequences for actions. And if there are no consequences, then we must be ready to bear the consequences of our inaction itself. And so I think one of the first things the Attorney General of the Federation should do is to clean up the system by ensuring that those who are responsible, imagine the ruffle fights that took place at the Federal High Court the other day after a court had ordered.
Between the correctional services and the DSS, yes.
The DSS. And now, to imagine that almost 2 weeks after, nobody has been held accountable for that inappropriate and unprofessional behavior.
Quite disgraceful.
What it means is that you are enabling that person. He's going to do it again some other time, or some others will look at it and they will do it again. And this is what breeds impunity. And so it is important that those who have done one thing or the other in contravention of the laws of the land must be made to account. Otherwise, we're going to continue to go around in a cycle, in a vicious cycle that will never end.
Thank you very much, Barrister Adejare. Now, Kingsley, the DSS initially charged Godwin Emefiele with illegal possession of firearms, but subsequently dropped the charge. How does this sequence of events reflect on the thoroughness of the DSS's investigations and their adherence to due process? And also, the DSS has now accused Emefiele of procurement fraud, along with another CBN official. Could you elaborate on the elements that constitute procurement fraud on the Nigerian law and how do they apply to this case?
Thank you so much, Gbenga. You know, when the news that Emefiele will be charged for illegal possession of arms, I laughed because I knew that was not why Emefiele was arrested, assuming without considering that he committed such a crime. That can never be the reason behind his arrest. And I knew that the only time we would tell the real motive behind his arrest would be revealed. Of course, someone of his status, you do not expect him to be in possession of arms without requisite licenses. I would want to assume that. But that's by the way. Of course, DSS have changed their minds. They decided to charge him for procurement fraud, so to speak. Why I wouldn't want to speak on the whether the reasonability of also this charge. I will leave it for the court and for the DSS prosecutions and so on to deal with. But one thing is clear here, and that is the unwillingness of the state actors to play by the rules. And when I mean playing by the rules, by allowing citizens' human rights to triumph. Because essentially, what they are accusing Emefiele on the new charge is that he didn't follow the Procurement Act. He didn't awarding contracts to his relative friends or acquaintances. That's essentially what he's been charged. And if you look at the legal framework upon which that charge is predicated, it's about 5 years imprisonment. I don't want to go into that area. But the truth of the matter is that no matter how anybody looks at it, we have to be ultimately right than to be consistently wrong. Whatever allegation, whatever Emefiele has been alleged to have committed, there is no justification for his continuous detention for more than 60 years. There's absolutely no justification. I understand that, I don't know if there was any in Bawa's case. I understand there was a magistrate or even Emefiele, I can't recall now, or court order, allowing the DSS to detain one of them for a certain period of time. The law, the Constitution frowns at holding charge. That is absolutely holding charge. You cannot detain someone in a matter you lack jurisdiction to try. If you lack jurisdiction, like lawyers always say,
the checks and balances.
Yes. Very well. So if you do not have jurisdiction to hear a case, you lack jurisdiction to make any order in respect of that matter. So that has been in our law books as long as I can remember. But whether that is being respected, you will still see magistrate give similar decisions, reminding a suspect when they have no jurisdiction.
And all of this has led to a culture of impunity. Permit me to bring in Deji Adejare to have the final say on this conversation. Deji, you have less than a minute to make your submission. Now, taking all aspects into consideration, how might the outcomes of this cases set legal precedents? The case of Emefiele and Bawa set legal precedents for future cases involving high-ranking officials, and what lessons can be learned for the legal system and also protecting citizens' rights in Nigeria? If you can, in less than a minute, I would appreciate.
Okay. Yes. Under the previous administration, that's the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, you had a lot of these unlawful detentions, prolonged and extended detentions. And unfortunately, nothing was done and nobody was held responsible. And so today, this new government has come in and has decided to take it a notch higher by immediately coming in and picking on principal officers. And if we do not speak against it, you can be sure that many more will come. Now, it is important that our law enforcement agencies must understand that they do not arrest people before investigations are done. The law requires that you have investigated and you have found somebody culpable before you arrest. And I think it is important that they start adhering to that.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Deji Adejare, Executive Director, Sterling Law Centre, and Kingsley Chime, legal practitioner. We do appreciate your insight and your time for joining us in this all-important conversation tonight in Politics HQ. Thank you. And that's it on the program tonight. Thanks for being in nice company. I am Gbenga Aborowa. See you tomorrow for another edition of Politics HQ on News Central Television.